flying down inside to try to create as much havoc as he can. And so that's one of the main things we work on those guys with, is the ability to come down hard. If you get an inside scoop, or if you get a down block out of that tackle, come down hard. If anything shows up, a pulling guard or a fullback, we want to just try to explode that thing and splatter it. And, you know, I don't like to use the word wrong arm, but a lot of guys use the term wrong arm, and hit it hard and make everything bounce or spill to our two outside invert players. And then we like to be – those guys are big pass rushers, obviously, for us. And that's why we like to play them strong and weak, so we can get the end on the weak side.
Okay. So when you're sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was reading the question and then so as you guys are crashing, so say for instance you guys get like a read option team, quarterback's reading that in. How are you coaching? Are you coaching now the inverts to play the quarterback, or are you coaching the inside stack backer?
It depends on what kind of quarterback we're dealing with. If we're dealing with a guy that we think we can handle one-on-one, against us, the quarterback should get a pull read or a disconnect read on any read option. He should, if he's not getting a disconnect read, then we've got a major problem with those two spillers. Those two spillers should be coming down so hard that read option really isn't a read option. It's just quarterback keep. And then we can play that a couple of different ways. We can play it with just the invert and let him play the guy. If they're doing a good job of getting him blocked, or if they're RPOing him, then we can, we have a call or an adjustment that we call Tiger, where then our outside backer, our inside outside backer, can also help on the quarterback. Okay. So we have a couple of different ways we can play it when we get read option, but the key to us is that he should get disconnect every single time. If he's not getting a disconnect, we're doing something wrong in the front.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I get you. I understand. Now, so what's when you're looking at a kid who's going to play that, because I know some, like me, for instance, when I go and try to find my kids, my defensive ends they're usually pretty small kids. They're not the monsters per se. That's one of the reasons why we run the 3-5-3. So
that's one of the reasons we went to it also. To be honest, when we were at a small college, we were at Claremont College, University of Redlands, which are Division III. We could always find those swingmen guys, linebacker type guys. We had a ton of those guys in the program, but we didn't have any 240-pound linemen. I mean, our linemen were our good linemen, best linemen we'd ever have were 210, 215-pound, just butt kickers. And maybe we could find that one, 6 foot tall or 5'10", 240 guy to be the nose, where we could get a little bit of push, but we just couldn't find those guys. We couldn't find 4 War Daddy D linemen. And that was always the big thing for us. That was a big reason why we went to it. We could find those swingmen in Division III. You got 50 of those swingmen on your team that you can make into a linebacker. You can make into a strong safety. You could maybe make into a free safety. Those guys are a dime a dozen in Division III. Right. But 230-pound, 240-pound defensive linemen, those guys aren't so easy to find. Okay. And so that was part of the reason we got into the 3-man front, and then the 3-5 versus the 3-4 was just trying to get an extra guy up into the game. Okay. And that was kind of where we developed this stuff. So that's basically the reason we went to this stuff.
Okay. All right. I pretty much, I guess the same principle. I guess we're thinking on the same lines there. So let's talk about your stack backers now. What kind of kids are you looking for in that to fill those spots? What do they look like?
Yeah, our Mike is going to be kind of probably our toughest, most physical guy. We talked about the Mike playing in a phone booth, because against the run, the Mike is always going to be in one A gap or the other. He can sneak to a B gap sometimes based on the blocking stuff, but that's kind of a step deeper into probably what I can get into without having a board in front of me. But he's going to – we almost say our Mike's in a phone booth, right? He's playing in a between the guard, and that's where he plays. And so that's going to be kind of our big run stopper. The bigger of our linebackers, potentially if we do have a guy that isn't maybe as fast, that's a place where we can hide him out a little bit, and hide that maybe speed disadvantage as the Mike. And then our two outside inside backers are going to be maybe a little better athletically. But we've played these outside backer spots we've played them with big guys. We played them with small guys. The University of Redlands, the year we led the nation in defense, our weak side outside linebacker was a 160-pound kid that came from 8-man football. We got him from an 8-man team, and he was tough, and he was really coachable, and he was fast. But teams thought we were a joke. We'd take the field, they thought we were a joke because we had a 160-pound, 5'8" guy playing weak side linebacker for us. So we've played that with a bunch of different guys, and you just kind of got to feel out your group and what you have, But the biggest difference for us is the Mike is going to be our guy that is the most able to take on down blocks, to take on that kind of stuff and that pressure kind of stuff from the linemen. And so that's the real position change. Those two, weak side, strong side, outside guys, they're going to be pretty similar kind of guys generally for us.
Okay. Now, how about your inverts now? You got so we talked about the D-line, now we're going to the Mike or the backers.
Yeah, these guys are going to be a little better athletically for us, and if they can play man cover, that's a big plus. In college, we always were able to find guys that could play man cover. In high school, that might be more of a challenge. We've been in high schools where we've had inverts that could really play man cover, and we've been where we've had guys that couldn't play man cover at all. If they can't play any man cover, that's going to limit some of your package in terms of what you can do coverage-wise. If they can play some man cover, then that really opens up a lot of stuff, because man cover out of the 3-5 opens up a lot of blitz potential. And so that really is an evaluation thing for us. Can this guy play man? He's got to set the edge for us. He's got to be able to be a force defender for us. If he can, those are the primary things. Can he be a force defender? Can he set the edge? Is he tough enough? Can he tackle when the guys get out to him? Because we're spilling the ball to these invert guys. Can they make the tackle? If they can't make the tackle, then we're spilling to nothing. It looks great on the board, but if the invert can't tackle anybody, then it really doesn't do us any good anyway. So he's got to be able to make the tackle when we spill. He's got to be able to be a force defender. But if that guy can also play a little man coverage, now you've really got something. Now you really open up the things you can do in terms of the package. That's harder to find in high school, depending on where you're coaching. If you're coaching at a smaller school or a school that doesn't have as many kind of really good players, then it can be hard to find that guy that can be the edge setter, shoulder recoil on the run on some edge stuff, and then also go out and play man cover. That guy might be a little harder to find depending on where you are in high school. But for us, if we have a choice, he's got to be able to set the edge first.
Okay. So how often, Coach? This is a little bit off topic. So with those inverts, how often are you rolling to a 2-shell look, or do you even roll to a 2-shell look with those inverts? And how does that?
This is just me. We've played a bunch of 2-shell stuff. When we were at University of Redlands, we played a lot of 2-shell stuff. But for me, the 2-shell is a different defense. Once you go into the 2-shell, it's really more of a 3-4 principle defense, which is fine.
Okay.
But our principles change a little bit because we now no longer consider ourselves as having that weak side invert there to be the force setter. So once he goes back to play in quarters or to play in cover 2, we now no longer can count him as a first level run defender.
Okay.
And so for us, that's now a 3-4, which we've played that too, and I like the 3-4. But that's a different thing for us. Primarily coverage-wise for us, we're going to play cover 3. We're going to play a rotation, some kind of rotation cover where it maybe looks like cover 2 on the front side and then like a 3 or a man on the back side. We're going to play what we call green curl, which is cover 3, but we don't go aggressively to the flats with the strong safeties. And then we're going to play man cover. Those are really our 3-5 coverages. Okay. Once you start getting into that cover 2, 2-man, straight cover 2, straight quarters package, which we've played. I'm not anti-quarter. Please don't. Everybody always I do these and they go, oh, you don't like too high? No, I love too high. It's great. But I think that's the 3-4. Once we start talking too high, to me, that's a 3-4.
All right. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the corners and the safeties. So what are you looking for in that corner? And what are you looking for?
We ask a lot of our corners because that's a little bit of a specialty thing for what we do. So we play a lot of cover 3. We play a lot of man. So they've got to be able to play some man. But we play a lot of cover 3. And when we play cover 3, what we do with our corners, we align our corners 5 by 3. We're 3 yards inside the wide receiver because we're going to ask our corner to what we call vertical veer, which means he's going to get deep and he's got to be able to help on inside seam and outside fade because that's the first thing, right? As soon as teams see you in single high, they think you're in cover 3. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to pump 4 verts at you, or they're going to pump some kind of switch at you, 4 verts switch at you, and try to throw the 4 verts. And so for us to play 4 verts, our corners are a big part of that because they have to be able to help both on the inside seam and vertical veer to the outside fade. We count on them to help both. And so they've got to be able to have that kind of range and then be able to play the football when it's in the air, that they can be a big part of taking 4 verts away. Because that's always one of the first things we see is 4 verts. Everybody that's a spread team, the first thing we see is, okay, 4 verts, it's single high safety. We got 4 verts, 4 verts, 4 verts. And so we have to, what we talk to our deep guys about is 4 verts can't be the answer. That's their first answer. It can't be their last answer, or we're going to get our butt kicked. If 4 verts is the answer, we're going to get smoked because it's an easy answer and everybody knows it. So we have to be able to stop 4 verts, and part of doing that is by letting our corners actually play both the seam. They help with the seam and they help with the fade, depending on the read of the quarterback. Is the quarterback giving him high shoulder? Where's he looking? Is he looking in the seam? Is he looking high outside? And then they're going to vertical veer and be able to help on both. Now, they're, of course, going to get safety help on the seam, and we should be getting a good drop out of the linebacker. So that's the way, if you ask me, Coach Fazio, how do you plan on stopping the seam? My answer would be, and again, all this stuff is great on the board, but it's only as good as how well your kids do it and how well you're able to get them to do it. But my answer would be, we're going to drop like hell with the inside backer to get our hands up and make it a high throw. We're going to vertical veer from the outside with the corner to help on that, and we're going to come hard with the safety to help on that. We're going to have 3 guys getting there, and he better put that throw right on him. And even if he does, we're going to have a good chance to get a hit on him. So that's my answer. That's the way we answer 4 verts, which is going to be one of the first things that we see every week against the spread team because they're going to look at us and say, well, it's single high, it's cover 3, we can throw 4 verts.
Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of teams when they see you line up with that with the inverts down and you got the 1 high safety, they try to run 4 verts. But like you said,
first answer we see, it's the first thing we see. The first thing we see is 4 verts, and then then some run game. If they can run the ball, then we'll start seeing some. Then they try to start introducing extra gaps and that kind of stuff. But the first answer, 80% of the time, is 4 verts. And if we let that be the answer that beats us, we won't ever get to any of the other end because they'll beat us because they'll just pick us with the 4. We have to stop that from being the answer.
Okay. So real quick, we kind of go back to I guess we're talking coverage a little bit. Let's go back to the invert. So say you do get 4 verts with your inverts. What are you teaching your inverts and what are they responsible for?
It would depend on the coverage.
Okay.
Straight cover 3 for us, our inverts are going hard to the flat.
Okay.
We're buzzing the flat. We're going to try to get it out there as fast as we can in straight cover 3.
Okay.
And then we're going to let the linebackers drop hard and try to make that seam a high throw to the inside guys. Okay. Now, we have what we call 3 curl or green curl, where now the strong safeties, the inverts, will either bang number 2 or will carry him in the right situation. So we have a couple of different answers to that to try to answer 4 verts because once we figured out it can't just be one 4 verts answer. We have our first answer, we have our second answer, we have our third answer. or how we're going to stop 4 verts. Because if the first answer doesn't work and all we do is throw our hands up and go, oh, well, I mean, then we're not doing a very good job, right?
Yeah.
We have to have an adjustment.
Yeah.
And so we have a couple of adjustments that we try to make based on, are they able to get it? If they can't get it, then we'll just keep doing it. We'll just keep playing cover 3. If they can't beat cover 3, we'll just keep playing cover 3 until they can beat it. Cover 3 is great for us. Yeah. And it allows us to do a lot of our stuff, and it keeps us super solid in the run game. I love playing cover 3. We'll play cover 3. If it's good enough, we'll just keep doing it. Now, if they can start picking on us a little bit, then we have to have some other coverage answers that we have to be able to do.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We kind of like to play a little, we call it a match, but it's not really the Nick Saban match, but,
I've heard it called match. We call it curl. I've heard it called 3 seam. I've heard it called a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Match has become like a catch-all term, right? That's the new catch-all term is match. Everybody just says match. Oh, we play match. And then that's like the answer.
Yeah.
So match is like 30 different things now, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to get on a tangent.
All right. Real quick, hey guys, don't forget, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat, and then I'll ask them to Coach if you have any questions. So let's go ahead and let's get into to some blitzes, and then what do you guys do on the backside of those blitzes?
Sure. So the way we think of pressure is we think of it in terms of how many guys are going, right? So we have 3-man pressure, which we almost never run. I would say in a whole season, we're going to, if we're running 3-man pressure, there's a reason that we're doing that. Either we think the quarterback's a bum and we just want to let him throw it into us, or if they're a guy that just catches it and throws it. I mean, if we've timed him and his average release time is 2 seconds, then it doesn't do us any good to bring a lot of pressure because he's just going to catch it and throw it anyway. We're into the half maybe, but we're almost never going to run 3-man pressure. Most of the time, we're either going to be 4-man pressure or 5-man pressure. 4-man pressure, generally, we'll just call, however you want to call it. So we have when we blitz our Mike, we call it X. So he's going to make a rip or Liz call. The nose goes the one A gap, the Mike goes the other A gap. That's X. Then we have calls for the outside backers, right? Strike means the outside backer goes inside, the in goes outside. Edge means the in comes inside and the outside backer goes outside the tackle. So, and then we can bring the outside strong safety guys too. And we call that either their name, hero or bomb, or we call it, then we can tag those things to make 5-man pressure, right? So those are all 4-man pressures. Then if we want 2 of those, then we can just tag it. So X bomb is the Mike and the outside strong side strong safety, for example. Then we also, at times, we've named those blitzes, the 5-mans. If you want to put them on a wristband, or if you want to just be able to call them easier, we've called, Arizona's a blitz, or Oregon's, and that they all know what that means. Okay, Oregon is double edge, or Arizona is, X bomb, or whatever, however you want to talk about it, to name the blitzes. And that's a way that you can maybe call them a little quicker if you want, or put them on a wristband if the kid's calling it off a wristband or something like that. So, but we think in terms of 3-man pressure, 4-man pressure, 5-man pressure. And then how do we coordinate the coverage to align to those pressures? So that's what's going to be on my call sheet, right? My call sheet's going to say 3-man pressure versus 2x2. Here are our coverage options. 3-man pressure versus 3x1. Here are our coverage options. Now, 3-man pressure, you're going to have a lot of coverage options. Play them all because you're dropping 8, right? But 4-man pressure, okay, versus 2x2, here's what we're going to do. These are our options. Versus 3x1, these are our options. 5-man pressure, now you're getting a little harder, right? Because 5-man pressure, like 4-man pressure, you still have 7 droppers, so you still have 3 deep and 4 under. You could technically still get to everybody, right? As soon as you go to 5-man pressure, now all of a sudden you've got to change it up, right? Because you only have 3 deep and 3 under, and they have 4 receivers. So somebody's going to be, if they run a quick hitch, is going to be open, right? You can't drop to everybody once you start 5-man pressuring. And so what's our answer for 5-man pressure? So 3, 4, 5, boom, boom, boom. And then I can see, okay, if they're in 3x1, this is what we're doing. If they're in 2x2, these are our options. And that's how we call our front and coverage in the games. and try to coordinate the coverage with, whatever pressure we're running.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of this
yeah.
stuff's hard to do, as you know, without a board, but
Yes,
hopefully that makes sense.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just I guess it kind of takes the thought process out of the coaching point when you say, hey, all right, at a 4-man pressures, this is what we're going to be able to do.
Yeah, these are our options. And I never want to just have one option. You always want to have at least 2 options in the square, because if the one option's no good, or if they start to figure it out, you want to be able to have an adjustment. So we'll always build in, okay, 3x1, we're running 4-man pressure. Here's our 2 things that we can do, or here's our 3 things that we can do. And some of that's going to apply to, look, number 5's a really good receiver. He's the number 2 receiver. This is the coverage we want to run. Number 5's a really good receiver. He's on the backside. This is the coverage we want to run. Number 80's a bum. He's the booster club president's kid. We don't need to drop to him. So if he's here, then we can roll the coverage, or what, you know what I mean? So that's the other stuff that's going to go into our call process. Is most high schools aren't going to have 4 good receivers that they can all throw to equally, right? They're going to have their best guy. If they're good, they're going to have another good guy. If they have a 3rd good guy, they're probably really good, right? Most teams that have 3 good receivers in high school are probably going to be pretty darn good offensively. But we got to know, who's their best guy? Who do they want to throw to? Where does he like to line up? What does he like to do from there? That's all going to apply to our coverage system too, because we always want to make sure we've got him accounted for. We don't ever want to let their best guy be somewhere and we're not dropping to him, or we're voiding him, and they can do something easy and let him go. We always want to make sure we want to make them beat us doing something that isn't their favorite thing to do, right? If they can beat us doing their favorite thing, that's kind of our fault, right? But if we take their favorite thing away and they can beat us doing something else, well, we've done our job. They're just better than us. If they're able to beat us left-handed, then I mean, at least we didn't make it easy for them, And so that's the other thing that we need to know when we're building our coverages together.
Right. Okay. And so when you do call a blitz, are you still staying with either cover 3-man, man free, on those, or do those change?
We've got some rotational stuff we'll do, rotation coverage if we're trying to squat and make it look like kind of cover 2 on the front side.
Right.
We can play quarter half against 3x1. We'll play a little quarter half and void the outside receiver to the 3 receiver side. If we think he's no good, or if the quarterback can't throw it that far, or whatever. I mean, or if he doesn't like to throw it out there. We've got coverage change-ups, but primarily we're going to try to play cover 3. We're going to try to play cover 1, man free, and a little bit of that green curl, seam or match or whatever you want to call it, to match up with those seam guys. Those are our primary coverages, and that's good for 5-man blitz. That 3 match or 3 curl, as we call it, is good for 5-man blitz, because it covers for, you don't have to have 4 underneath droppers. You can do it with 3 underneath droppers.
Okay. All right. Yeah, man, that's really good. A lot, and like I said, a lot of this stuff, you talk about it. You talk about it in your book.
Yeah, and the one cool thing about the book, and I'm not on here to sell books, guys. I don't, I get like $2 from every one of those books I sell. So, but one cool thing about the book is the guy that made it put in videos, so you can actually like Q code, and it'll have me on the board like chalk talking through this stuff, where it's actually a little bit better because you can actually see it on the board. So that's a cool thing too, with the book. But like I said, I'm not trying to sell you a book. You can always just text me or call me or email me too, and I'll do the best I can. But that actually has some chalk talk and some diagrams that are kind of good that may help kind of explain through some of these things.
Yeah. All right. So we got about I'd say about 20 minutes left. Of course, we're not going to take up the whole time since we talked about our 2 topics. And what we like to do, Coach, at the end of this is just kind of open it up for questioning.
Sure.
Just anything about the 3-5-3 or anything that you talked about today. So I'm going to open that up. Does anybody have any questions? You can unmic yourself and then ask your questions.
As far as nose guard alignment, you said they don't want to get attacked by guards, at all.
Yes, sir.
Do you like to keep him in a zero technique as much as possible?
We generally will keep him in a zero technique. Every once in a while, if we're running a blitz that's trying to, if he's a bad slanter, if he's so big or so bullish that he can't slant when we need him to slant on the blitz stuff or anything, then we will occasionally move him and let him line up in the gap. But generally, we're gonna be zero, unless there's a reason, usually a physical reason that we have to move him over. I mean, sometimes there's game plan stuff too. Okay, well, they're a G team. We're trying to chase the G guy or something. There's a reason we're moving over there. But generally, we're going to be a zero.
I did have a question, and I'm pretty sure you answered it. So we see a lot of spread teams, 2x2, one back. Is there a specific direction that you're having that nose go? Is he going to the running back? Is he going away from the running back? Is he going to the strong side? Or is that like you said, just kind of? It's a
good question. We have slant rules, so every week we'll give our Mike backer what we call the slant rules, and slant rules aren't always slant. That means all of our blitzes. So when we run our strike blitz, where do we want to run it? Strong or weak, or away from the back, or to the back, or to the quarterback's right. When we want to run our edge blitz, where do we want to run that? When we run our X blitz, where do we want to run that? When we slant, where do we want to slant? When we slide, where do we want to slide? So we go through our slant rules. We develop those in the game plan on Sunday, and then we'll teach those to the Mike linebacker, Monday, Tuesday, and then hopefully by Wednesday, he's doing that on his own based on game plan. But all that's going to be game plan stuff based on what they're trying to do. What are they trying to do to attack us, and how can we make them not beat us doing their favorite thing?
Oh, okay. So you're calling. So you're calling strike, period, and then the linebacker determine whether
he'll determine that based on slant rules. Now we can, if I want it in my own hands, then I can say strike strong or strike weak or whatever, or strike to our bench, or you could tell him if you want to.
Right. Okay.
For the most part, we're going to let him. He sees the formation, he gets to see it, he gets to check it out, he gets to communicate it. So, if he can handle that, then we like to let him be the guy that does that.
Okay. All right, I like that. Anybody else got any more questions for Coach?
Coach, do you set your defensive ends at 5s or 4 eyes, or do you switch off?
We've done it all. We like to be our base. If our base alignment, we actually tilt in just a little bit, and we're gonna put our inside eye on his outside eye. So we want to be just outside, but barely outside the tackle, and a little bit of a tilt. So if he clears, we can come down hard. Okay. But we'll get in the 4 eye too, and that's becoming increasingly popular. Right. You guys probably know that tight. We call it tight. But that 4 eye, those double 4 eyes are kind of nasty against some of the RPO stuff and some of the zone stuff. Mm-hmm. So we do that a little bit too, and again, that's a call. But our base alignment, they're going to be. It looks like head up, but they should just be ever so slightly shaded outside that tackle.
Okay. One other question. How about you ever do a 3 high look? I noticed that's coming up too.
With the you're talking about with the strong safeties?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never done a lot of that, but I've seen it where the 2 corners are kind of more of a squat technique kind of guys and up in the game, right? And then we've seen it. We have not done a lot of that though, but I have seen it on tape, and did, I don't know if they still run this, but a few years ago, Hillcrest High School in Riverside was a team that played that 3 high look, and then they squatted the corners, and they were pretty good at it. And we played against them a couple years when I was at Ramona, so I remember it from the other end. But we've never played a lot of that, but I have seen it, and I have seen it done pretty well.
Yeah, we just kind of piggyback. We tried. We were trying to mix up the coverages. They had a really talented receiver, And the thing that got us was the inverts. They would get back there and they would forget they had run as well. So,
For us, a big part of what we're trying to do, and it talks about this in the book, but we want to teach the kids as few techniques as possible, and we want them to get really good at them. So we that's why the reason that we work the snot out of our corners with playing that deep third. I mean, we work the heck out of it, boom, boom, all the time. And so I feel like we don't work our strong safeties very much doing that. And so I don't like to put them in a position where they're kind of doing something that they're not getting a lot of reps at doing. So that's why we try to teach them as few, we want to play as many things as we can, but only having to teach them as few, getting them better at fewer techniques, I guess, would be the right way to say it.
Right.
And that's why we've never done a lot of it. But like I said, I have seen it done, and I've seen it done pretty well.
Yeah, a little keep it simple, stupid type stuff. Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions for Coach?
Coach
has my email. I have a Twitter too. You guys are always welcome to. I mean, this doesn't have to end right now, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk for forever if you guys want to. I'm down for whatever. Go ahead. Somebody was talking. Go ahead.
How do you handle like run heavy teams? Like, do y'all face any wing T, flex bone, double tight end stuff?
Sure. Yeah. We that's double tight end is one way that people will try to answer the 3-5 because it creates extra gaps. We just play our stuff. We feel really good about the way we do our run. Point of attack reads and our spills create a lot of trouble. We figure if they're bringing tight ends in the game, we're bringing our strong safeties in the game. So it's a good match for us. We have a coverage where we'll roll the safety, the free safety, we call it Pirate, where he actually becomes kind of the 9th run defender and can roll up into the game if he gets a run. So that's a way to get a 9th guy in the box. And we have some different kind of reads that we'll do for the wing T and those kind of things. The flex bone, we've seen some flex bone. When we've seen the flex bone, obviously you're going to have to make adjustments. That's a whole different, you're seeing a lot of different kind of things there. And it's the same thing with like double wing power pitch stuff. We've got adjustments that we make, that are specific to those kind of things. But if it's just a regular run, they're getting an ace and they're running, stretch with 2 tight ends, or they're running power with a tight end and a fullback, or they're running, 2-back split zone or whatever. We feel like we can play that stuff. Wing T, we feel like we can play that stuff pretty well just with our regular stuff.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
We see one team that's a full house T and
Nice.
one or two wing T teams in our conference. Can you talk about your thought process for the full house T and a little more on the wing T?
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of full house in a while. I mean, for us, I think the first decision you got to make, if you're seeing a team that's bringing and we do see some double wing power pitch. So the first decision you got to make in that is, do you want to leave your corners on the field? Is it worth leaving your corners on the field? Are they valuable? If they're not throwing the ball at all, are you better suited bringing another guy that can help you, that can insert and help you, and making him another run defender? Things like that, because our corners will come in. We'll switch and get our corners in the game, but if your corner's not going to hit, then, are you wasting your corner? Is your corner a guy that wants to be out there playing man cover? So the first thought process is, do we need to leave both corners on the field? Or should we bring in another body that can help us do some other things, that can help us insert and fill a gap and do those kind of things? And then we'll roll our safety in. We love to roll our safety in with what we call Pirate coverage, where if he gets a run read, he inserts and becomes an extra run defender. But again, a lot of this would take, to get into specifics, I'd have to go back and look at, specifically what are they trying to do? What is that wing T team? Are they an X sweep team? Are they a trap team? Are they a full, are they a flex bone to run the triple option? Are they double wing to run power pitch? All of those things will we have different ways that we can try to attack that. But the biggest thing is for every guy they bring into the box, we want to bring a guy in. So if they're going to bring in another tight end, we want to bring our corner in and let him be a run defender. If they're going to bring in another fullback, we want to bring in our safety and let him be a run defender a little bit. So we just want to try to match numbers as best we can, and then let our front do their thing. Let our guys come off, punch and move the line of scrimmage. Let our linebackers come downhill fast and punch and read and run through. We feel really good about all that stuff. I've never gotten into a game and said, you know what, we just don't have the right. They're just pounding on us because we got the wrong defense in. When we've gotten pounded on, it's been because they were really good at pounding, and they knocked us around a little bit, knocked us off. But it was never because I felt like, man, they're just taking advantage because we only have the 3D linemen. Now, can we get into a 4D lineman look? Sure. Can we get into a bear look? I love the bear. I've had seasons where we've run bear, 30, 40% of the time. I love the bear. Knock those ends down and make them 3 techniques and walk up the outside linebackers and get in the bear. I mean, we have ways to do different stuff. But
Oh,
sorry. I thought we had another question. But anyway, we have different ways, but we want to try to match numbers as best we can. We don't want to get out and matched in the numbers game. Well, they got 11 in the box, and we got 2 corners outstanding on the numbers, not doing anything, or 2 corners that we know won't hit, right? Like we know little Jimmy isn't going to hit, and yet we're bringing him in. And it's like, dude, he's not going to hit anybody. Like we don't want to ever let them look at our team and go, oh, that guy's not going to hit, run right at him. Like, okay, if he's not going to hit, get him out of there or put him back somewhere where we can just let him get real deep and save a touchdown or something if he's a guy we need on the field. But we'll try to match numbers a little bit. That's an answer. And getting the bear a little bit is an answer. And, personnel sub a little bit is an answer. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but I've never really felt like we have to do too much schematically. I think the 3-5 can handle that stuff.
yeah, I think that's been one of the beauties about, and especially with me being a first year DC is when you run the 3-5, it's really balanced,
I love that. Oh God, you're speaking my language, man.
Yeah.
You got those outside inverts. You're balanced all the time. It's so hard to get out formation. As an offensive, when I'm an offensive coach, my mind always is, how can we get extra numbers, right? It's hard against the 3-5 because there's always adjustments. It adjusts. It's so easy to adjust. So
yeah,
you're speaking my language, coach.
Yeah, I was, just I guess blessed not to have to think so much. When you see a formation, like, what is that? Okay, well, just run the stack and you'll be fine. So, yeah, that's been something that I guess kind of helped me out this year. And of course, not breaking the stack. Like you say, run the stack, stay in the stack. And a lot of times, some of those issues when you start looking at them, they tend. I don't want to say they tend to work themselves out, but you don't have to break the system in order to fix the system. It's already working for you pretty well.
The system works. I mean, it's like running the wing tee, right? There's a reason the wing tee's been an offense for 180 years or whatever, right? It's because it works. Like if you run the wing tee and you run it, it works. It works. The 3-5 works. Now, there'll be times when you're playing really good opponents. I mean, they're not everything works all the time, but the system does work, and it accounts for, I can count on one hand the number of times that we've seen a gotcha scheme that's been able to work against us in 20 years, 16 years. We just don't see it. We're balanced. We have deep defenders. We're always able to adjust. That's what I like. That's the beauty of it. I never go into a game going, oh, what if they do this? And what if they do this? And it's like, no, we're good. We got overhangs. We got deep defenders. We're good to go.
Yeah. Like I said, it kind of makes things a whole lot easier on the DC. But anybody else have any more questions for Coach? Anything?
I hope that helped. I hope that helped you, Coach.
All right. Well, it looks like it looks like that's going to be it. Coach, we really appreciate you coming
you,
on and
Coach.
talking personnel and then talking.
Thank you guys for coming. I was afraid I was going to be in here by myself. So thank you guys for coming.
No, thank you, Coach.
Yeah,
Anything you guys ever need, Twitter, email, Coach has my email. Please don't be afraid. Love to talk football.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
Thank you, Coach.
Y'all
Thank
have
you,
a good
guys.
night, man. Y'all have a good night. We'll be back on Sunday. It was Mother's Day. I completely forgot Mother's Day. I guess I'm a bad guy. We'll be back on Sunday, and I'll post topics and stuff like that on our Facebook and Twitter. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks again, guys.